First, let's talk a little bit about manager and leadership. Manager has the authority. It's a given platform to exercise influence. It's a given through the hierarchy. So a manager, by the fact that he has a title, he has authority and has fellowship. That doesn't make him a leader. What makes him a leader is what I mentioned before in another of our conversations, is the binary contract between the followers and the individual that makes that individual a position of leadership. And it's something that it's implicit and emerges. But what makes it effective in the organization is what I call versatility. Versatility comes by understanding where your specific or your followers are at any given point in the lifetime of the relationship. By that I mean, when you start a relationship, a new employee comes in, that employee has a tremendous need for your direction as a manager, telling them what to do, where to do, how to go, where to go, who to talk, who not to talk. So it's a relationship that's based on a very strong dependent relationship. The individual, the subordinate, depends on you for guidance, direction, for development. You provide that. As time passes, the individual starts developing a sense of self and needs to differentiate himself from you, or she needs to differentiate. So at that point moves to a counter-dependent stage. At that point there is rebelliousness. It's a kind of, let me do it myself, I don't need you. It's the teenage ages in our children. And if you try to hold them dependent, the greater you hold them dependent, the more the counter-dependence. It's the storming of a relationship. It's really hard, but you need to be able to, as a leader, to understand that that's where they are, or that where that individual is, and how you foster that counter-dependence in a way that allows that individual to grow out of it and learn from it. Into the next step is independent. At that point, the individual needs to separate himself, not through fighting, because the fighting is still a relationship-based relation. Needs to have a space of trying, testing his or her own assumptions, engaging in discovering of her own sense of self, differentiating himself from you as a leader. And you need to figure out a way of promoting that, because that's a point of growth. It's a point of establishing the roots and the ability to fly, let's put it in that context. Out of that comes the fourth stage, which is interdependency. Now we're equal. I'm older, I may be more experienced, but we deal with each other equal, but I'm still providing inspiration. I still provide something that individual recognizes in me because I allowed all this process to take place. I was facilitated this process to take place. This is true particularly in Western societies, particularly in democracies, where you want people to feel empowered, when you want people to feel that they are in control of their destiny and influential in their destiny. That is not true in other cultures. In other cultures, they foster dependency. The boss subordinate, the patron, the jefe, all those cultures. Leaderships are working in those cultures in a very effective manner for those cultures. Would that work in America? In some organizations it does. In some don't. It's contextual. It's again culture, context, values. Our basic premises is that we want to move from an autocratic to a democratic, from a depowered to an empowered culture. This is what Western society defines as leadership. Facilitating that move in order to achieve higher goods, higher goals.